There is obviously if we're going to talk about any political race that is even worth paying attention to, it is the U.S. Senate race in just across the water from Lake Michigan in the state of Michigan. There is this U.S. Senate race that is obviously heating up now, because I do believe that Abdul El-Sayed actually has a realistic chance of getting the Democratic nomination, not just because of Dearborn, despite what people would want you to believe, but because he actually is a non-corporate populist left candidate who also happens to be a Muslim. And to put a person like that on the marquee, especially in this moment, can dramatically change politics in such a substantial way. Now, as I'm sure you saw the other day, it was very perplexing as to why Senator Elizabeth Warren came out and endorsed State Representative Mallory McMorrow, who had been lingering in the third place position for a while. Now, the only reason I think that this has happened is because I think that the powers that be within the Israel lobby have made a judgment call. Their call is Haley Stevens is not going to be able to do it, so we're going to have to get behind Mallory McMorrow. And this leaked audio from Rogue DNC from AIPAC volunteers on behalf of Mallory McMorrow just came out the other day.
It a lot. Yes, that's absolutely a reality. What I will say is that I think that Mallory is where most of the electorate is. I think she's been really thoughtful on the issue, and I think we've been in conversation with anyone who wants to talk about this, and I think that on the whole, most people have found that Mallory, even if they disagree with Mallory, they think she has been very thoughtful on the issue. And she's accessible and honest and transparent. So I think that our hope is that AIPAC doesn't get involved in the race, but they will wait and see.
Yeah. Is she willing to talk to them? Because they absolutely will get involved.
Yeah. We have been talking to every organization that wants to talk about this issue, and that's sort of our policy.
So what's the great lesson here? Stop thinking everything revolves around AIPAC. They're just a symbol. They happen to be a very obvious symbol, but you have dozens of well-funded, well-connected, pro-Israel organizations that get themselves involved in these races. I assume you've come across quite a few of them in your research for a number of issues regarding Roy, I would imagine.
Yes, definitely.
Jen, how many can you come up with?
Well, I mean, I didn't talk to any of them when I ran. I had a very brief interaction with J Street, and that was very brief. No, there's a handful of them. You've got Kufi, you've got DMFI. I mean, you've got a whole bunch of Israel lobby organizations, and there's a bunch that we don't even know of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a huge part of the problem, because everyone thinks, well, if we just identify, and this is why we know the people who are running Track AIPAC. And while it is called Track AIPAC, what it really is it's tracking all pro-Israel lobbying dollars. And that's really what you have to do. Because if AIPAC eventually just becomes a complete pariah and a non-starter, okay, fine, that goes away. But what are you going to do about Kufi? What are you going to do about, the Jonathan Greenblatt's, why am I keep forgetting the name of it?
ADL.
The Anti-Defamation League. They're all connected. And that's the thing. Why would you even have to consider whether you support McMorrow or not? Abdul El-Sayed is more than a capable candidate to be a U.S. senator. But then it makes you wonder, what is the real motivation here? What do you think?
I think that whatever candidate wants to keep the money in America and not in foreign countries, you go for the candidate that wants to keep it in America. And the fact that we have to even say this out loud about senators is so insane. And I think this war with this attacking of Iran, what's happening right now, this has been the most eye-opening thing for a lot of people that weren't really involved, because they saw the amount of money. And what is it at right now? Like 80 billion? I don't even know how much they're spending per day. All this money could have so easily gone to our healthcare, to our education, to literally one of the million problems we have in this country. And it's not. It all needs to go to this useless war that, again, had nothing to do with the U.S. really. It's all about Israel.
Let this finish so we can stop looking at her.
And I'll say one more thing before we finish it out. The one thing about Americans in general, as much as I hate to say this, but the powers that be really didn't think it through when they decided to withhold everything and take away as much of everything that was beneficial to an American as possible. The average American, if they were living a comfortable life, probably wouldn't care very much about what's going on in the rest of the world and the pillaging that we were doing. See, they really overthought it. If Americans had healthcare, living wage, a roof over their head, but we have to go do, genocide in other parts of the world. Yeah, they wouldn't like it, but they're not going to fight against it. And now that things have gotten so bad, now Americans are ready to fight. And once that happens, there's really no going back. So
I think a lot of Republicans too that are switching over and saying, where is our money going? And this hasn't happened to this degree, and I think ever. And again, it's because this is becoming a legitimate problem for U.S. citizens, where they see their money going to fund more useless wars from a president who literally said, and I quote, the war in Iraq should have never happened. We should have never been there. We should not be in the Middle East. No new wars. There's a new war. What the hell? What's going on?
But then even Trump got his mind right. That's what happened.
Yeah.
They show them the other angle of the Zapruder film, as I always reference. We'll finish it up.
So we've had conversations with them. We've, have had conversations with all sorts of groups.
I can tell you that I've talked with them directly because I know leadership locally and nationally. And they know very clearly that I'm supporting Mallory and why I'm supporting her. And I have read her AIPAC position paper. It's outstanding. I don't know if it's public or not. Mallory will benefit, I believe, because that rule is going to hit Haley very hard over it. And so there might be a bad spend, but I'm almost going to provide some cover on that. But I'll tell you that I was concerned with the Bernie vote and some of the public comments that were made, especially like a punch bowl article this morning. But Mallory gets it. She understands it. And this is somebody who supports Israel and understands the reality on the ground in Gaza. I'm very comfortable with where she's at.
Well, if that's the case, then I am very uncomfortable with being anywhere near somebody like that. That's all I need to
it a lot.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I'm also not really surprised anymore at this point. This is like another day in the U.S. What's new here?
How defeatist for your generation in terms of any participation in electoral politics? I remember when I was in college and back then I was still shilling for Democrats, but it was, I'm loath to say, Bill Clinton was running for president.
And I did a really great job back then. Thank you for the help, Jen.
No, but what does this do in terms of people your generation's interest in participating in anything having to do with electoral politics?
There's no faith anymore. That's it. We've genuinely lost the plot. They don't have our best interests at heart. I think we all know that by now. There's very few people out there that we actually can trust. But in terms of, again, it's just very hopeless, and I don't see a positive thing. But I think the one positive there is that it is becoming more and more obvious, and I think people are opening up their eyes more. And
that's what I think.
Yeah, and I think they overestimated how much they can do in the region against Iran, because Iran is going currently ham right now on everyone. And there's a new report that actually came out today that the Israelis are losing a lot of troops. They're putting too many into Lebanon, to Gaza, to be on the Air Force for Iran. They're losing troops. They're trying to do more drafting, and it's not working. And there's Israeli security officials that are warning of a military collapse. So they're really stretched thin, and if it keeps persisting more, who knows how much more money we can give to them to keep funding this, again, ridiculous war.
Whatever it's going to take to make them collapse, and I feel like we're not that far away. And as long as we are continuing to cross-pollinate, as Jen likes to say, have these collaborations, and now that we're connected and we'll share your work and vice versa, I think it is just an imperative situation in terms of how we continue to build this out. But the collapse is inevitable. It's just a question of how we get through it. And the more awake or the more noticing that the average citizen does, then the better. And again,
how are most of your fellow students or people? I mean, the people who I know that have college age kids, and I'm including myself in that, they're just not that interested in any of this. They're just not that interested. What
Yeah,
do you
but
find like?
the
Yeah.
problem is that they're forced to be interested because, again, the fact that like in the media we're talking about Iran and this and that, like Iran is a country, and why are we talking about this so much? Why are we involved? What This is the question that kids are right now. They're talking to me, and people, my classmates are asking me like, why the hell are we involved in this? Like, what does it have to do with us? And I tell them it's Israel. It's not America. Iran's not capable of striking America. No one cares to strike America. That's not the
No.
problem here. So again, people they're disinterested in the way that they're just wondering, why do we keep talking about these foreign things happening that's not away from our country? We have so many problems in our country in terms of ICE and things like that. So yeah, again,
Where do you think they're getting information? Where do you think most people get their information? Like where because my hope is that the Fox News generation as they die off,
it's dying out.
Yeah, that
people
those
typically-
medias won't be useful.
Yeah, it's usually mainstream media, but again, media more and more has been dying out because kind of like how like the Democrat-Republican shift has been happening. The same thing with Fox News and CNN. They're all both just perpetuating these stupid things and telling us to care about things that we shouldn't care about. And a lot of people, they're turning to more social media news, which is good, and it's hitting mainstream. You know, like the meme of like the big Yahoo and all this stuff, and like we got to go die for Israel's war. It's becoming a meme now on TikTok through everyone. And the fact that it's become this mainstream kind of just shows like how the tone is shifting.